Back. So what would be harder to handle, getting fired or getting divorced or even widowed? Apparently, hearing the phrase, "it's just not working out," hurts worse when it comes from your boss. That's according to a new study by the What Works Center for Wellbeing. In fact, researchers found British men will decline for more than 4 years after being fired from a job, but they recover back to normal levels of happiness 2 years after a spouse dies and 4 years after a divorce. Doesn't that sound really backwards? So we wanted to bring in Dr. Jared Skillings to help us understand just these mind-boggling findings. How could that be?
It is a weird study, isn't it?
It is.
I actually asked, my kids had soccer tonight, and I actually asked one of my assistant coaches what he thought, and his first reaction was, well, that doesn't say very much about our relationships these days, does it?
So very true.
It is, and you know, the more I thought about it, well, I think that may be true. What I think it says more is how seriously important our jobs are to us.
Yes.
They keep us really alive. They allow us to feed our families and ourselves, and so I think maybe this is about that as much as anything.
So does that mean that you need to sort of balance things a little bit better in your life?
That's a good question. So there's a lot of research showing that people are in debt. Frankly, even in terms of the economy is still pretty soft on jobs. So from a psychology point of view, I think people, if they're living on a shoestring budget, and if you get fired at work really quickly, you don't expect it. I think that would maybe just be a huge shock to your system.
Right, and something that would really be stressful. So
totally right.
No doubt that you would carry that with you. Would you say that women would handle this differently than men, that it's, it's a gender thing going on here? It's
a good question. So the research that was taken, that they did a study over in England actually showed that men took it harder. And to be fair, this study just came out, so it's a little hard to say exactly. I can tell you on my own part, I've actually lost one job. It was several years ago, and it was surprising. It was no fault of my own. They just let multiple of us go at one time. And for 2 years afterwards, every time I got called into an executive's office for a meeting that had nothing to do with anything, I was scared to death that could be the day that I was going to be let go again. Right. So I think that just on my own personal experience, that may sort of indicate how worrisome that is. I suspect other people are like that too, and might feel the same way.
Of course, almost like a post-traumatic stress there that you're having.
That's entirely right. On my part, again, I don't think I had nightmares about it, but I did, when I got called down to the office for a meeting, so to speak, it felt a little bit like getting called to the principal's office in school, like I was in trouble somehow.
Does that mean that there's something we need to do in regards to handling it better if you do lose a job? Because, sad to say, these things are happening these days.
That's right. Well, so again, in the England study, what they found is the only thing that really fixed it was getting a different job. That also seems surprising to me. As a psychologist, I suppose myself and my colleagues would always like to be able to say, if you think your way through it and try to use logical problem solving, you can really work through it. But in fact, the data don't suggest that. What the data suggests is that really what you need to do is, instead of trying to make yourself feel better, maybe what you should do is try to work on finding a different employment. Or I would even say, the study didn't look at this, but look at how your family is organized.
Right.
And if you can't work, maybe your spouse can pick something up, or you can pick up something part-time. Right. I suspect there's some other ways to maneuver that around.
Lean on that support system.
That's right.
Dr. Jared Skillings, thank you so much for that insight.
Thank you.